Hello and welcome to another episode of Ramped Up, the podcast all about disability, where no topic is off limits. We talk about all things from education to transport to health to everything. My name is Joel Sprouse and my co-host is...
I'm Lexi.
We are both full-time wheelchair users, and we like to try and interview people with as many different types of disabilities as possible. So we have had a lot of people with physical disabilities, and it's nice every once in a while to talk to someone with a different kind of disability. We have Lexi, who is a friend of mine, and I'll let her introduce herself in just a second. Before, I will say that I know her as Willow, and so if I ever refer to her as Willow, I mean Lexi. It's just me trying to break old habits, okay? So yeah, Lexi, why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
Hi, my name is Lexi Bushnell. I live in Central California on the coast. I'm 41 years old. I have autism and ADHD, self-diagnosed. I do want to add. I have been working for the United States Postal Service for 18 years. My job it's kind of interesting there. I handle the valuable packages, those packages that are worth either a whole lot of money or are extremely sentimental. They are of high value. So I'm the one that takes care of those. And for fun, as how I know Joel is, we are both writers. My preference is screenwriting, writing movies and TV series, animated series. So far, it's just a hobby, but would love for it to be something more.
Yeah, it's but so yeah, I do screenwriting part-time. I don't think I've ever really spoken about it on this podcast. It's a relatively new hobby of mine that I've not put a lot of effort into until very recently. But yeah, I've read some of your stuff and they're quite cool. They do often sort of feature disability as well. So there are a couple projects that I'm aware of. Do you want to talk a bit about them?
Sure. The one that kind of started it all is called Draglets of Makara, and I do have a couple of animated episodes on YouTube. It is it features a disabled dragon. She is paralyzed. She uses a wheelchair, and she her injury is such that she will never be able to fly. It's basically like a slice of life thing. Her on her day-to-day life and surrounding, and her just being a kid. It's a kid in a wheelchair, but she is just a kid, and she's actually a bit of a bratty kid at times, very much. She's an adrenaline junkie. She just wants to go. She does not think before acts, and she can be, and that goes the same with her words. She can be a bit cruel, not realizing it completely. She's a little kid. That is all what she is, and she also happens to be disabled. So that is, I've been working on that with her story for over 7 years. Just recently, a series featuring a herd of centaurs who live on a farm, and the series is about them helping each other and helping their neighbors and such, and it features 3 characters with disabilities. One is the herder, who is really blind. One of the teenagers, he has a congenital leg difference. And I'm currently writing one right now. A new neighbor that just moved in who has DID, dissociative identity disorder. So that is the kind of stuff that I write. I don't particularly write about the disabilities. I write about what they are doing. So, for example, on the story with the character DID, the story is not about it. It very not. I don't have it. I have listened to people who do, but I do not feel that that's enough authority to actually write something about the idea. The story is actually about how they love boats. They just moved from the coast into a landlocked area, and so now they are starting up a riverboat business, more or less. That, and they also have DID with that. So that is the kind of stuff that I.
Cool. The Draglets of Makara we will link down in the description below. So while you were telling us about your various projects, you said that you're writing characters who happen to be disabled. A lot of people would say, what does that mean? As opposed to like, you're writing disabled characters. Explain what you mean a bit by that.
They are right. Yes, I am writing disabled characters. Their disabilities play a major role in their lives, and their lives play a major role in their story. But the story itself is not about their disability. It is about their just day-to-day lives, interactions with people. And there is always a stark contrast between how family sees them. In families, it's just a normal day. They don't acknowledge anything. In public or dealing with strangers, that's where it becomes a much kind of bigger issue, or it comes to head. So it's just normal life. It's just them living their normal life. However, whatever they see as normal.
Yeah, and I think that's an important distinction to make, that while your characters, quote unquote, happen to be disabled, they are disabled, and that you see that lived experience. A lot of media doesn't show that. And we also run a disability writing workshop where we help writers to, sort of write characters who are disabled. And something that you really focus on is making sure that the character is a character, is a person, and that's something you really focus on. Whereas I tend to focus on sort of, is a disability representation accurate? We have different ways of doing it, but ultimately we want to make sure that it is, it's good representation, because boy, the media is really bad at representing disability. Something else you touched on earlier, you said that you research disabled characters and like you look into their disability. Is there a sort of process for doing that?
No, not exactly. I mean, I definitely look on. I look on social media. What I'm looking for are personal stories from the people, not necessarily about people, but people telling their own stories and things that have happened to them and such. And then that inspires me to, okay, well, now I want to research this and I want to research that. yeah, much of it, much of everything I write is inspired by real people. They are not real people. I am not taking here, let me just change the names and throw in someone else's experience and this character represents that person. No, it's not like that. They are a completely unique character, but I am kind of changing their personal experiences to fit um the uh the um the world they live in. I do tend to write fantasy worlds. I my characters, I have a world of dragons, a society of dragons. Right now I'm writing a society of centaurs. They have very human experiences, but it is not a human world. There's a few reasons that um, I did that. Um, um, in that it's just fun. It's just fun world building to imagine and dream. What exactly? How would centaurs design their world if they could create their own world? But there is also the fact I don't have the disabilities I'm writing about. I want them represented correctly, accurately, and if I do that in a natural human world, there are nuances I'm going to miss. In a fantasy animated world, things are already a little bit exaggerated, a little bit fantastic. You're already in a state of disbelief. Um, in a human world, also some of the stories can get a lot darker than they are in animated real world issues, especially dealing with children and such. So it is intended as a way to lighten up serious topics. Like I did one, I already completed one episode is about dementia, and that can get really, really dark quickly. Um, but yeah, I want to, I want to represent the character accurately. I want to represent their disability as well as I possibly can, even though I personally have not experienced it. And so that's also why I want to listen to people who have experienced, use their personal experiences to inspire something fictional.
Mm.
Yeah, it's good that it's good to use real people's experiences to sort of shape your world, to shape storylines and this sort of thing. Because then it's really accurate, and you don't have to worry about, oh, but what if it's not? What if I haven't done it right? I mean, I guess it is still that concern, sort of as a person who doesn't have the disabilities of your character, there is still that concern of, have I written it in the right way? Am I doing this right, sort of thing?
But it's also good that you are using those real stories and adapting them in a way, which is kind of when you explained to me when you explained that like you create this fantasy world with these like human life experiences. It kind of sounds like you're taking your reader to like a land, like a children's land kind of thing, where whatever they imagine, with people living with this kind of hardships, how they would live, if that makes sense. And I think that's quite a good way to look at it, and also quite a fun, light-hearted, but also educational way to kind of educate people. It doesn't have to be people who don't know these disabilities, but also people within the disabled community to learn about other people as well.
Thank you. That's kind of my hope. I really want to break a lot of the stereotypes of what we see on TV, because so much of it is wrong, and some of it's mildly wrong. A lot of it is painfully wrong. And one thing, there's certain things that you never see, or you hardly ever see in or disabled people portrayed in media. You hardly ever see them as love interests or being sexually desirable, being leaders. So, for example, my blind character, he becomes the leader, and he's a bit unsure because of his blindness. But it's not his sight that makes him a good leader. It's how much he cares about the rest of his herd. And when he, details that I do kind of look at, when he is on his farm, the entirety of farm, there's orchards and there's farmhouses. As long as he is in those premises, he feels completely normal. He can get around just fine. He goes outside of that comfort zone, and that is where he can struggle, and his blindness becomes a bit more of a thing. For him at home, it's not that much of a thing. He takes steps to make sure he doesn't step on the toddler, but he has his ways and his routine. So it is just sprinkling in little details, but the bulk of it is you see the character and you see his empathy, while kind of how's the I'm gonna think. You are the audience. I'm visualizing, if you were to see this as an animated thing, you would see his empathy first, but kind of subliminally notice how he is doing certain things, how he is feeling things, where he's confident, where he's not, how he harvests food, how he walks around the barn where a toddler is playing. Those little details, but that's not what the story is about. It is about him being a leader, comforting those around him, being kind of like the steadfast heart of the herd.
So I feel like this episode will be talking a lot about like the media, because that's something that both me and you are very interested in as screenwriters. Are there any like movies where there are disabled characters that really irritate you because the representation is bad or inaccurate, maybe?
There's a whole list of them. So we mentioned music, and which, I'll be honest, something that really annoys me with music are the names, because I love the names. The character is named Music, another character is named Kazoo, and those are just fun names. And I hate that they are associated with that movie. So yeah,
Do you
that
want
is
to give me a quick rundown of that movie? Because I don't think I've seen it.
I'll be honest, I have not seen it either.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was like, has anyone seen it? I don't know.
I mean, I haven't seen it deliberately because I know that it is so bad. I don't want to support the film. If I might get in trouble for saying this. If I do watch it, it'll be illegally. Because I didn't say that, obviously. No.
Leave that.
Yeah, we'll edit it out. But like, it's about a girl with nonverbal autism, and
oh, I see what's going. Okay, yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe you have to tell me too much. Like, I know where that is going now. Oh no. Oh no.
And there
Yeah.
were questionable things shown, so the first thing was they were initially going to get an autistic actress to play the character, and then they said no, we won't, because it wouldn't be, we wouldn't be able to. It would be too difficult. They weren't willing to make any adjustments.
And this is another topic that me and you kind of briefly talked about in our previous season, how in the media, especially in movies, they rather go for convenience rather than accurately portray a character with somebody who understands that world and that mentality and those experiences. They would rather, like, it. There's a movie that I haven't watched it, but I have heard reviews on it. I think it's called Split. It is about DID. What really caused an uproar about it is that people, well, especially in the DID community, people have said that they portray them as kind of like serial killers. That at any point they can shift and they could go at you. That makes sense. And in the community, they were like, that is not completely not true. Yes, there are alters that are there to protect you, and they come forward. But there's rarely any chances, or it rarely happens, that they actually will go and attack another human unless absolutely necessary. Which, to me, like, I haven't watched that movie, but just hearing people say that breaks my heart. The fact that they rather portray this sci-fi, weird fantasy world that is not at all accurate, even though they claim they have spoken with people who have DID.
Yeah, it is concerning how people will put a spin on things and completely change a condition ultimately, or leave things out just to make it easier for them, or to make it more watchable or more, more attractive, at the risk of, like, really harming those people in society.
Do you remember we talked about on one of the episodes about a deaf director? I don't remember his name now, but he did win some sort of award for his film. Can't remember it's on my head now. But that was kind of the first time we realized that, people with disabilities are being seen. And that being one of the big event that me and you were talking about it for ages. We're like, oh my God, like it's becoming true. But what's sad is that he wanted to cast somebody who is deaf, but wasn't able to because he was talked out of it.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen it a lot, actually, funny enough, since we started the podcast. It was totally all us, but there's more representation of disability in the media now, which is great. You're seeing it everywhere. Lenny Rush fairly recently won a Brit Award for Best Performance, and he has Lenny Rush. He's an actor who has dwarfism, and he was in a British TV show made by the BBC called Am I Being Unreasonable? I believe it's on iPlayer now. And there's been quite a few recently, like actors and actresses and directors and so on, who have won awards because they are good performers, and it's good that it's finally being seen. We're moving out of the mindset that people who are disabled are incapable, or they wouldn't make good actors, or we're moving out of that mindset at last. And really going, oh, these people are like me, and we're becoming more equal, which is really great.
Something else that totally off topic, but also Barbie has become more diverse. There's dolls with alopecia, not alopecia. Is it alopecia, the one with the skin pigment disorder?
Oh no,
where like the pigmentation in the skin changes. There's Ligo. I'm so sorry. Wrong time. There's one with Barbie who has hearing aids, another one in a wheelchair, one that is now recently one with dwarfism. Like, that is so cool. Like, and I wish I had that when I was a kid growing up. Like, why was Barbie in a wheelchair when I was growing up?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's great. Like, even though I'm 20, I will look at adverts. I'll see adverts with a wheelchair on. I go, Mum, a wheelchair. You know,
Yeah,
because it is
you
so great to
did.
see people who are like you, and see people who look like you and see that you are being represented. It's really nice to see.
Mm. So I kind of have a question for Lexi. So you said that you do screenwriting, right? But you still do a little bit of, I guess, novel writing as well. Is that true?
Yes. I'll be honest, I just go with the flow of whatever I'm feeling in the moment. I really like screenwriting. It is so strict about its rules. Your lines can only be so long. You have to use the minimalist of words. It has to be in present tense. There are so many rules to it. And I don't like staying within the confines of a box just makes it so much easier to write. I'm not worrying about, well, am I doing this right? Am I doing this right? And so the story just flows. But the honest truth is no one reads screenplays. You can submit screenplays to competitions, such. It is rare, very, very rare that something actually gets made. So if you want to get your work out there and you want the public to actually see it, then then more narrative prose is the way to go. But the problem with that, and I am struggling with, is there are no rules. It could be in any tense. The narrator could be anyone. The prose can be as long and flowery or as short as you want. There are no rules. And so it's kind of the thing where I'm constantly questioning, is this right? Am I doing right? Am I switching? I'm switching tenses here, but then I'm switching tenses over here. Is this actually past tense, or is this word present tense, or when it's used in this so and so I have been trying to do more of the narrative writing, but it's a lot harder. Yeah, that's one of the reasons. So my Draglets of Makara series, I actually went to some producers and I pitched it, and I got very positive reviews. One, it was something original. Like the characters, everything they asked was well thought out, but there were several problems. One is I'm not famous. So, if someone else, like, say like how Jerry Seinfeld got the Bee movie made, that if that come from nobody would have made it. But because it was him, he was already a big name. It got made.
And the pointless cartoon that I've ever seen, to be honest.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I said it's kind of a pointless movie I've ever watched, to be very honest.
It is.
It's just, and so bland. There's like nothing coming on. No offense to him, he's a great writer. That's true, and his like works are amazing. But that was one of his like worst ones I've ever seen.
That was. I laugh at that one just because I did not expect it to go where it was going of suing the human race. Like, can we just deal with the politics inside the hive? Like, that's kind of where I wanted to stay, not suing humanity. Like, that's just weird.
It felt like very internal turmoil was coming out, and it just wasn't portrayed very well.
Yes. Oh. So, I'm not famous. The material is not famous. You will find, my apologies. One of the most obvious things is, say, Harry Potter. That story blew up, and now the author has a lot more say. So the material needs. Yes, I have to agree. There was a third thing, and I don't remember what it was, but basically you basically need to be famous before anyone will touch your material. And so that is why I turned some of my scripts into animated shorts. However, animation costs a lot of money. I can't draw worth a flip. So hiring people, had a great team of people. But for one, the cost, because my job changed, so my income changed, and I couldn't afford it anymore. There were a lot of issues, honestly, with imposter syndrome that really caused a lot of problems for me. But that was the reason of getting my stuff out there so that people can see that I don't know, I guess it was my way of saying to the disabled community, you are seen, you are heard. I want to demonstrate your stories.
Yeah. Cool. It's really difficult to be a screenwriter because, as you say, it's really hard to break into the industry and to get in, particularly in America, I think. I've not been in the industry in either country, but apparently in the UK it's easier to have more say in your work and stuff like that.
Kind of backwards logic when you think about it. Like, they won't touch your work because you're not a household name. But yet, if you haven't had any work done, you can't become said household name.
Right. Exactly. It's more about who you know, but you also can't get in to meet people. I think
it's a huge power struggle, it seems like to me.
It is. It is all of the game, and I think I recall what the third thing was, why mine wouldn't work. Production companies like to go with what works, what are money makers. And that is why we are continuously seeing Star Wars, Marvel, superheroes. It is the same thing over and over and over again because those are guaranteed money makers. Things that go outside of that are new and experimental or such, they tend to be flops, regardless of how good they are. One of my favorite movies is Rise of the Guardians, about Frost. I think that is an awesome, incredible movie, but it underperformed and it was a flop. That is, we're not getting beautiful original movies like that. We're getting, another another sequel, another Disney remake, another Marvel superhero. So that is a huge problem in.
But I kind of feel like when those already established household names like Marvel, like Disney, for example, but when they launch, like obviously, let me put it into perspective in this way that a smaller named writer, right, puts out something, it doesn't perform well. But if a bigger, like, brand household name like Marvel, like Disney, does the same thing, it gets massive media attention and people love it. And they say, oh, it's so innovative, it's new. It's not. It's been done several times. It's just, it's not being promoted and seeing the public eye as much, which is incredibly frustrating.
Yes. Yes, it is. And it makes it nearly impossible for new up and coming writers to get into the business.
And discouraging, it seems like, as well.
It can be.
But do you do these like animations and screenwriting for yourself and for the exact audience you're aiming it to, or do you want it to be more worldwide kind of thing, like seen by everyone, not just specific, people? I guess, if that makes sense. Like your motivation.
The dream would be seen by everyone, but when I picture who is watching it, I actually imagine the person with the disability watching it, critiquing it. Oh, they did this right. Oh no, that's wrong. Oh, I want to say it is for the masses, but in reality, I think it is more for the disabled community to see themselves. It's more I want to I'm trying to figure out how to say this, but I want the world to see how unique and beautiful people with disabilities can be. Completely unique. Just a person with the same flaws, with a little bit more complications and difficulties. But still the exact same things. I'll tell you what, I inspired my Draglets of Makara. Writing a 10-year-old disabled protagonist is actually inspired by a real story from me. Was in my real life, I was about 10 years old, and my friend's mother was killed, hit by a truck. And so I didn't know what to say to him. I felt bad for him. I didn't know his mother. I never met her. I was a kid just like him. I didn't know what to say. And so I didn't know how to give condolences. I went to teachers. I went to my mother. And, well, what do I say to him? And their response was, that's a tough one. And nobody would tell me. And so finally, when I figured out what I wanted to say, it was about 3 days later. And he was gone. He got sent out of state to live with another relative because he didn't have any other family. And it was a major regret that I was his only friend, and I did not say a single word to him after his mother passed before he left. And just because I was scared of what to say. And giving condolences is not something that is ever taught, yet it is something that we all encounter. So that is what inspired Draglets of Makara. How would a kid give condolences? And then, oh, well, yeah. Let's also, she's also disabled. The problem she's dealing with has nothing to do with her disability. It's just daily normal life that we all live with. But she is also a disabled character, so we kind of see the person. In this case, the dragon. He's not human. Or we see both just living life, being normal. So that is kind of what inspired it. I forget where I started with that, but
It's fine. No, I think it's sorry.
No, go ahead. Go,
No,
Joey.
I think it's quite beautiful that you kind of say normal, because through that character's eyes, whatever they're going through with their disability added on is their normal. There's no definition of normal. Like, I remember in school being always asked, "Oh, don't you wish you had a normal life?" I'm like, "Well, what is a normal life? I know nothing than this. This is normal life." So hearing your version of normal makes me so happy on the inside. Honestly, it really does.
Oh, thank you for attention. It is. Thank you. That's like the highest praise you could give. That is like good.
Yeah, and that's part of it, isn't it? That yeah, I could be able-bodied, but that's not necessarily better. You know, for me, that change, that whole process of transition would just be chaotic. It would be just as chaotic as you know, someone losing the ability of their legs. You know, it changes so much, so drastically. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like we've spoken a lot. And it's always nice to talk about disability. I wonder what, because you mentioned that you are self-diagnosed. What's that like? Are there any advantages to, are there any disadvantages to being self-diagnosed or than professionally diagnosed that you see? Or how did you realize that, you know, there's a possibility you're autistic and have ADHD?
Okay. Yeah. Sure. So growing up, I always knew that I had issues. I always knew that I was different. I was recently looking through grade school scores and teacher comments, and all of them were glowing. I had excellent academics. And so I'm looking back, were there any signs? And the answer is yes, there were signs, but I didn't know. No one else knew, because no one looks to the smart kid if they're having problems. No one looks to someone who is doing well to see if they're having problems. And they probably would have noticed problems if they had looked at my socialization, not my testing scores and my academics. So I also, I grew up for the early years in a single parent household. It was just me and my mom. And so I was never in chaotic situations, or very, very rarely. If I was in a chaotic house, if I was repeatedly put in somewhere where there's a lot of noise and a lot of just chaos, then it would have been a lot more noticeable, I think. But because I grew up very quiet, in a quiet home, often being alone, there was nothing to notice. It was honestly more, I think throughout growing up, I was more obsessed with, am I doing things right? Like watching other people and then copying them or learning how to do things from them. And I don't mean skills. I mean going into a situation of, what am I supposed to say? What am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to act? And then acting like copying those actions. And, oh, somebody did this thing, and then so that means it's okay if I do it too. And that was how I grew up. That was my entire mentality of growing up. And that continues on today. Now, with the autism was never even considered for growing up. That was only a boy thing. And it was sorry, I'm losing my train. It's going into the abyss of forgetfulness. Yeah, so it was not on anyone's radar. One thing that I was repeatedly, very often, and still am described as arrogant. And I've never seen that, and that really, really hurts me because I don't want to be arrogant. I don't think I am. I've always thought of myself as eccentric. But like throughout my childhood, even into adulthood, that was the word that more followed me. And no one could tell me why or such. At one point, I was diagnosed with schizophrenia. At another time, I was, they suggested maybe bipolar. I've seen a variety of therapists. It wasn't until I was watching an autistic YouTuber, and he was reacting to an autistic character in a show. And it was about the character was sitting on a bus seat, and the character was basically saying, I don't like the feel of this bus seat, so I'm going to sit in this weird, funky way so it doesn't touch me. I don't understand how anyone else can stand the feeling of these bus seats. And the autistic YouTuber was like, no, that's not the way it was. It is. We are fully aware that we are the only ones who are having problems with this. And that was kind of the thing, because everything I had seen has been everything I've known has been portrayed on TV. And I always assumed it was a mental disconnect from the world, that you're not aware that you are different.
Right.
But the honest truth is, yes, even to the point of like the paranoia of, like, this is really, really uncomfortable bus seat, but I don't want to look. I want to hide the fact that I'm not comfortable. I'd rather suffer than appear discomfort. I want to act like it. And that was kind of the epiphany that I got.
Right.
That the self-awareness, I've always known I was different. And looking back, little things, little itty bitty things, I do recognize, but that was the beginning of the self-diagnose, and there just the research after that. So media played a big part in the self-diagnosis, and it was actually, someone actually talking about it and comparing the production to reality.
Yeah. I mean, what you were saying there reminded me of my mum, in that she doesn't understand why people use labels, because she doesn't like to point out things that are wrong. But I don't think that's what it's about. It's about seeing a difference. Not that disability is wrong, but it's different, and there's nothing wrong with, noticing something that's different. And so, the way that you've seen that you're not bad, you're just different. You have differences or struggles that other people don't have. And there's nothing wrong with saying, I have these issues, or I have these things that I struggle with, but other people don't. I think that's important for people to realize,
Absolutely agree.
Mm.
I when I realized I believe I have autism, and like it just checked every single box. I hate to say this. I hate that Autism Speaks uses a puzzle piece, because autism was the puzzle piece that completed me. Like it was, I could finally see all of myself, the entire picture, when I put in that puzzle piece. It was the missing part of me. And I really hate that an organization as cruel and hurtful as Autism Speaks uses this symbol that I would gladly use for myself. Not that I am a puzzle. I'm not a puzzle. But autism is the final puzzle piece that completes my my identity.
That makes it part of who you are, yeah.
Yes.
Because it affects the way that you see the world, the way that you experience it, the way you interact. It affects so much of you that you'd be a different person without the autism. Yeah.
Yes. And because I now recognize I have that, I wear it with a badge of honor. I am proud of it. And I now use my autism, things that I've had so many issues with self-hatred and it's more of, I'm telling myself throughout my entire life, ever since I was a kid, I should be able to do this. I should. I'm not working hard enough to get this done. Why am I so weak? Why am I too stupid to do this? And never having an understanding or an answer, and just believing that it was my own fault. It was my own failings, character failings, that is preventing me from going on and doing what I want to do. And so for years and years, I felt that. And now with the autism, understanding it, I can change my life and say, I'm not going to do it this way. I'm going to do it another way rather than forcing myself to do something someone else's way. It's okay if I fail. It's okay if I fall short. It's okay if I'm not perfect. And I don't like it, it's just like a whole world lifted off my shoulders.
So, as you're self-diagnosed with autism and other things, do you feel like you need that diagnosis, that clarification?
For me, no. For other people, kind of yes, especially people who have known me my whole life. It's like there's only a couple people I've even told, because it's kind of the fear of being seen as a hypochondriac, that, oh, you just read about it, so now you have it, kind of
Mindset.
yeah. And I have encountered that kind of thing, and strangers are much more willing and open to understanding that. Those who have not seen any issues, those who I'm closest to, are less likely to understand or be understanding. It counters their vision of what I am and who I am.
Mm.
Come here, sweet. Come here. Come here. Come here. Oh.
Anything else, Joel? Sorry, guys, I'm dissociating a little bit because I'm hearing stuff outside. And I'm like, what's going on out there? So sorry.
Hello there.
This is
We have a
Kaya.
dog.
We have a dog.
I
Hello.
can't see because I see a black screen, so I
Oh.
don't.
Oh no. Yeah, this is Kaya. She's a little Chihuahua mix. She's laying on the couch right next to me. Anyway,
What's she
she's my
mixed with? Chihuahua and what else?
toy fox terrier. There you go.
Oh,
She's a
I
Yeah.
can't
pretty
see her,
girl.
but I'm sure she's pretty.
It is. Oh, I'm sorry. You have a black turny screen.
Why do you have a black screen?
I don't know. You two are like a black screen with purple circles going round and round and round and
No.
round.
Oh.
I've been staring at black screens for the past half an hour.
Oh.
So whenever you guys are talking, I'm like not looking at the screen because I'm like I have nothing to look at basically.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh no. Like,
Oh,
you
that's
have had
boring.
so. Oh.
I don't know what's going on my end. Usually it's Joel who has the issues.
Oh, wow.
Have I claimed a Joel curse? Who knows?
Well, you
He's
know
passed the
what?
baton.
Well, usually it's Willow having the technical issues. So it's Lexi. Lexi having the
Apparently
technical issues.
it's apparently my turn today,
Yeah.
so yay me.
Oh dear. Yeah.
Oh,
Cool.
that's rough. That is rough.
Thank you. Thank you for actually caring. Okay.
Okay. Well, we can see everyone, which is nice. It's nice that this is a video podcast rather than just, hearing voices and stuff. Yeah. I mean, I think that's sort of all the questions I had for you. But I like people to just like say whatever comes to mind and whatever. Yeah.
And just naturally progress the conversation.
Yeah, we didn't plan this episode at all. We were just like, let's
We
just
don't
go
plan
into it and see
majority
what
of our
happens.
episodes, let's be honest, Joel.
We do sometimes, thank you very much.
Apart from Little, nobody.
You're right, we didn't plan Bow's episode. I did
No,
forget that.
Little was the only one who was planned. Everybody else just went with the flow. It's all
Yeah.
good. It's all fun.
Yeah, thank you for coming along and talking to us. We will leave the links for the disability writing workshops in the description below, and anyone is more than welcome, whether you have a disability or not. And we'd love to see you there, me and Willow.
I
And
might
Julia
put
might pop
my
in
head
there.
in sometimes.
Yeah, put up like a what's the word? Like a mole coming out of the ground. Just, Yum.
Hello. Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, we have quite a few people there actually. It's crazy. Like just I'm sitting here in my living room with Willow remotely. Willow's based in America. I'm in London, and like just 15 people just like come to specifically listen to us. And it's like I can't imagine 15 people in my living room just here listening to me.
Clearly, you're doing something right if they keep coming back.
Exactly, yes. It was so cool. Like for the first 2 weeks, we already had like a core group. It was like, what is it? What? And it's such a niche topic about disability, and yet so many people want to come and hear us. It's really cool.
And what's important is in that workshop, not only other disabled people, but non-disabled people as well. Which is amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it is it was kind of first discussed as kind of one of the important things of writing any kind of someone different than you is sensitivity reading and discussion and such. And so that's kind of where it starts. So yes, we absolutely welcome able-bodied people, no matter who you are, if you are writing a disabled character, to come in. But it is actually more than that. We absolutely need more disabled writers too. We need disabilities in every aspect of the creation process, and so it doesn't matter, disabled, not disabled, mental, physical. It does not matter. Want to come and talk about your story, whatever. We love all of it. We get into some pretty in-depth discussions, and some of it can be quite both cathartic and learn so much. Just especially the more different disabilities represented or different people who come, the more we can all learn about each other.
Yeah, I went to one session and automatically I was like, I'm gonna come back next week because it's amazing. It's so good.
We have a lot of fun. So.
Yeah, lots of people who come and just talk about disability and what it's like, and we did a quote-unquote class about the ID and just sort of told people, you know, this is what's wrong with overrepresentation at the moment. This is what it actually is, and, you know, these sorts of things. If people bring, like, a disability that they want a bit of help researching, they might bring in and sort of tell them what I know, and, like, people might bring a disability I've never heard of, and I go, oh, now I've learned something new, you know? It's really cool. Thank you very much, Lexi, for coming to talk to us. It's been wonderful to talk about disability in media and, like, hear how you're creating disabled characters. And if you want to know more, you can use one of the Discord links in the description below to join our writing workshops. We have one for screenwriting on a server called Script Camp and one for novel writing on a server called Word Camp. You can also find the description for this server in the description below. We are currently trying to work out a new name for it because the name that we have sucks. Or had. I've partially changed it because I didn't want Lexi to see what it was called. So we're looking for a new game, essentially.
Yep. All right,
so 3 Discord servers for you to join. Also go and check out Lexi's YouTube channel, Dragonets of Makara. It's a series of shorts about a disabled dragon, and go check that out. And yeah, you can find mine and Julia's social medias also in the description. We'll be back next time for another episode of Ramped Up with me, Joel Sprouse.
And me, Julia Chenko.
Thank you very much, everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.